a lot of people are looking at Kenny Beats and thinking, oh yeah, he's got to be filthy rich, but he's doing a lot. And I'm sure he has probably less money than what the average fan would imagine. And he probably does far more work than the average fan imagines he does. Kenny Beats sent out a tweet and I responded to it in a video, but more has come out and I wanted to get your reactions to it. Kenny Beats is a producer, DJ, Twitch streamer. He has found a lot of other ways to gain visibility and create a fan community and a culture around himself as a musician. And he tweeted, and people freaked out, "There is no one dumber than a person trying to get rich by making music." And I feel like that's a sentiment that we're familiar with. We talk about that too. Because like we've, I think, said something damn near the same as that, if you think music is the place to get rich, good luck. We're going to laugh as you drag yourself away from this arena with empty pockets. That's just not how this works. It's not a get rich quick scheme. So in my video, that's what I spoke about, because a lot of producers are like, what, you're saying there's no money left in music? I'm like, I don't think that's what he's saying. He's working in music full time. He did, however, expand on this, and there's a Music Tech article that includes all the quotes. And so he went on to say some things that I think add more context, both for better or worse, in my opinion. I want to get your reaction to this. So Kenny Beats went on to say, "I'm telling you as a multi-platinum, multi-Grammy nominated producer that getting rich off music only in 2024 is impossible without many other sources of income. I'm not lying to you to hate on you. It's a warning sign that you should be in it for the love." I think now we're entering into troubling territory with that. But what's your take, Aaron?
I think it's hilarious. I wasn't expecting you to read that, but I am I guess career-long fan of Kenny Beats, coming out of Atlanta, seeing him rise, doing his basement studio sessions, pulling up at underground shows and really showing love, collaborating with artists that you've never heard of, but also making beats and doing things for the biggest artists and then rising with his friends. So love Kenny Beats. To me, he's one of the most sane voices in music. If you watch a lot of his conversations, the way that he teaches people, even the way that he breaks down how he produces. I remember watching one video about how he adds in atmospheric elements behind his song to create texture. Now, that's something that a lot of producers do, but in the video, he pauses, does it, and then says, listen to the difference. This is why I do it. And I remember seeing so many people, it was like a live YouTube stream, lose their mind. Yo, I never thought about that. I come from rock music, so we did whisper tracks, and then there's all these texture tracks. So that to me is an understanding that I had, but he's a very, very practical person. So I really admire him because he's great at the art, but he also talks about his investments and why he does this and multiple streams of income. So big praise to Kenny Beats. I absolutely agree with him. All of us have said it or some version of it. There is money in music. We're not going to say there's not, because clearly all of us are propped up and living in the music industry, making full-time living, various degrees of responsibility, various ways that we're making money, but all of us are making money differently and still living here and not just surviving. I think all of us are doing, I definitely want more money, but all of us are doing well, right? For anybody to fight this notion, I think it's only ignorance. It's obvious that you don't make money in the music industry if you're upset by this, because anybody that you will cite who's making a ton of money is either an outlier or you're assuming that they have more money than they actually do. I can show you tons of people, and I mean tons of people who appear to have real money, real motion, and real traction in the music industry, and they're funded from an outside source, or they're borrowing things, or don't have a home, don't own anything. There's so many various things, or it's like they're wrapped up in so much debt. And this is not me coming for anybody, but a lot of people. And then on the other hand, there's people that you think, oh, they don't really have anything going on, and they understand how fickle this industry is, and they took their music money and they invested it in other things, and they keep it low. But even to me, people making a ton of music money again, and I cite this as far as Drake goes. I think I had wrote a breakdown in Forbes. I wish I could look at it again, but I think Drake's like overall wealth situation, it's only like 28 to like 30, like a low 30%, around 30% of his money comes from music. Everything else is like, and he's somebody who's $400 million deal here, top streamed artists in the world, all these concerts, whatever. Even with that, Drake takes his money, pulls it out of the music industry, invested in sports, betting, endorsements, all property, all these different things. And so I don't know. I just think it would be wild for somebody to have a legitimate argument for this. It's so hard to make money in music because there's no formula to it. There's no place that you can say, I go do this thing and then I keep doing this thing and then I'm going to end up with this result. You could follow every step that either of us three have taken and end up with a completely different result. So I think that's the hard part about the music industry, but there's also plenty of ways to make money in the music industry. It's just the notion of getting rich. Yeah, I just think that people still associate music and entertainment with this pipe dream of filling their needs and fixing everything. And so I think it's weird that people are like outraged by this.
What industry is the expectation that you make all the money from that industry? Like, even if you look at, what'd you say? Huh?
Being a doctor, a lot of people go into that, but engineering or something.
But I promise you, like, they're taking their money, they're investing it as well. Like, LeBron is taking his money. LeBron makes more money off the court than he does on the court. Like,
but he's rich already. He's rich off basketball already. It's not like he's making $50,000 a year off of basketball.
But Drake would be rich with just music too. Like, depending on what you define,
I agree.
Define is rich. Like, but I don't understand. Everybody should be just diversifying their revenue. Like, everybody should be investing. This isn't. But why are we just picking on the music industry and being like, oh, like you can't make money just in music? Like, very few people just make money, and very few people that have a lot of money make money one kind of way, right? If you look at Kevin Hart's business, Kevin Hart's into. He's endorsements. He owns production companies. He goes on tour. He does radio. He does movies. Like, but nobody's being like, oh, you can't just make money as a movie star. Like, who would do that? Like, that's dumb. Like, if you have the ability, it's all about your brand. Like, how can your brand extend to other things? That's ultimately what I was trying to do with Funk Volume, right? Like, we have Funk Volume, then we can have Funk Volume TV, then we can have Funk Volume Fitness, then we can have all of these things.
All the shake weights.
Yeah, I mean, but like, so I don't understand why music gets picked on as like, oh, you can't make money in music. Like, very few smart people have that approach in whatever industry they're in. So That's
why I said we're getting into problematic territory here with him. When people start speaking in absolutes, that's when I start getting uncomfortable. Like him saying it's impossible to get rich off music only. It's not impossible. It's highly, highly unlikely. But then you can always say, okay, well, if Drake only makes 30% of his money off of music, that's still tens of millions of dollars. The man is rich, regardless of his investments. So it's not impossible. But Kenny Beats goes on to say, and this is why I think this is good and bad. And, look, people go on these rants, and I'm not saying that they're emotionally driven, but they're based on personal experience, right? I do the same thing. I think all three of us do it.
I do want to say, though, basketball, whatever, all these different industries, there's a higher likelihood of at least making a baseline income, whereas music, there's absolutely zero. If you suck at basketball or if you're mediocre, you're not going to the league. But if you get into the league, there's the opportunity
Yep.
to leverage your income. If you play overseas, leverage your income. If you become a lawyer, a doctor, it takes time, but there's the opportunity to leverage essentially guaranteed income. My thing is that there's zero, and I do mean zero guarantees for income. I've signed contracts with reputable companies in the music industry and never got paid. I didn't start, but we had signed NDAs, signed the contract, they guaranteed my salary, and then nothing. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's my only thing, but I get what y'all are saying. I'm just saying the music industry, there's no guarantee for even the first amount of money that you can take and invest, which is why I agree with this. But I get what y'all are
Right.
saying.
No, what he's saying. He's saying a couple things. On the one hand, he's making very common sense and objectively true statements. Like, don't get. So I'll continue reading. He says, I'm talking about making money in music when you need to have more than 1 trillion streams to make $10 million, which I think is alarmist if you're just focusing on streams, because that's just kind of you know what I mean? This is why we're getting into the weeds. Deals are structured against your favor in every single way, and there's 100,000 songs a day uploaded to Spotify. I personally feel like none of that should apply to anybody that's up and coming. We talk about Spotify all the time and streaming, and there's still money being generated in streaming. It works for some people. It doesn't work for other people. If it works for you, cool. If it doesn't, fuck it, find another way. He just listed 3 ways out of hundreds of ways to generate revenue, which kind of contradicts what he was saying about having multiple sources of income, because it's like, yeah, don't focus on just the 3 and then get all gloomy about it. Don't get fatalistic because Spotify royalty rates are low. Find some other way. But this I absolutely agree with. He said you should try because you care about what you are making, in my opinion, not try because of the potential profits, which are way smaller than people assume. Absolutely. I think the core of what he's saying is, if you are making music because you're driven by getting rich, you're going to fail. And my thing is, like, you don't even need to say that, because the people that are jumping in the music business thinking, all right, I'm going to be rich in a year, are going to quit in 6 months if they last that long, because it's not a get rich quick industry. It's long and tough, and it gets dark, and you hit rock bottom multiple times in a lot of people's journeys. And so if you're expecting riches, you will see your way out. And if you're not motivated by the love that you have for making the music and your need to make the music, then you're going to give up, because the money's not coming. So what else are you getting out of it? Nothing. So you leave. If you don't like a job and they're not paying you, you leave. If you love a job and they're not paying you, you might stick around. I think at its core, I agree with what he's saying there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is anything new, really. Yeah, I don't even know what else to add. I don't think I have anything else to add.
Well, I'll add more, because he continues with this situation. He says every situation is different. It's a hypothetical, but in general, that first million, take out 15% for management, 5% for lawyers, 5% business manager, 30 to 40% taxes, possibly 10% for an agent. I'm not sure why an agent would be involved. You might be left with a down payment for a crib if you spend no other money. I think we're in problematic territory, because by my calculations, without the agent, I don't understand why you would need an agent or a business manager to sign a deal for an advance. Without those, and at a 35% tax rate, you still end up with $400,000, which, granted, you're not rich with $400,000, but you can buy a house with $400,000, and that's substantial. I mean, 400, are you going to turn down 400,000 right now? No. I don't think anyone would.
But why are we
And
going through
it's
this exercise? That $1 million, no matter how you get it, like it's gonna be, there's gonna be taxes, there's gonna be things taken out.
yeah.
I don't understand what the point is. Like I don't get it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is a situation that isn't unique to music and shouldn't discourage musicians. I think the whole conversation, like you're saying, Dame, there exists a middle ground between kind of the alarmism in this article and the more grounded points that he's making. I think the incredibly grounded points do need to be emphasized by someone who's doing it. Like if someone, a lot of people are looking at Kenny Beats and thinking, oh yeah, he's got to be filthy rich, but he's doing a lot. And I'm sure he has probably less money than what the average fan would imagine. And he probably does far more work than the average fan imagines he does. And so to have reality, I wish more artists would give reality checks rather than flashing and not talking about their mistakes, not talking about the pitfalls in the music business. My point is what you're saying, Dame. If we focus on this alarmism as though this is something that is specific to the music business, then we actually end up discouraging a lot of people that don't need to be discouraged.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, we haven't been shy about saying that it is hard to make money in the music industry, but it's primarily because there's so many people that want to do it. So I just don't understand why we throwing out all these other things that are very common to making money in so many other areas to just add on top of how the reality of how difficult it is to make money in music. I mean, I would like to see somebody like actually do the research, and because I think you guys sent that graphic, or somebody did that graphic of like, this is how many people are in high school playing ball. This is how many people make the college playing ball. This is how many people make it to the pros playing ball. Like we do need a similar graphic that shows how difficult it is. Like this is how many artists are out there. But even then, it wouldn't be that simple, right? Because, there's, like we've pointed out before, there are X amount of people, there's millions of people trying to make it in music, but there are probably a very small fraction of those pursuing it what I would call the right way. So, the pool isn't really the tens of millions, it's probably just a million, but that's still a million people. Like it's still a big pool.
Yeah, but I think music is more diverse when you look at the career options compared to sports. Like if you're an athlete, you're trying to get into the league. You're not really trying to be a consultant or like a high school gym teacher. Whatever the case is. But you have those options.
A lot of artists, a lot of players, especially like ones that I went to school with, it's like that you're good and you're good enough to go. A lot of them will even go to college knowing that there's not even a chance of them ever making it to the league, much less getting off of the bench. But they go to college and play in school, even as unscholarshiped athletes, because they do want to coach. They want to go back and coach AAU ball. They want to start their own league. They do want to consult on things like that. So I do think that that's like a subset of athletes that most people don't even realize are aware of their capabilities, and they're like, I'm going to ride this thing out until,
Yeah, you don't hear about that, and you really don't hear about it in music. You don't hear about the people making 50 to 100,000 a year. And when you get into these conversations with people, it's always like, oh, you don't have $1 million, you don't have $1 billion, you really failed in music. It's like, bitch, how much do you make? Yeah, well, I'm a dental assistant. It's a job. Everyone has a job. What are you talking about? It just becomes a really weird situation where we're looking at the music business as this exceptional field because we have perceptions of of people who work within that field as really just one or the other. Either you're filthy rich or you're a failure. Kenny B says he's making a living I don't imagine he would consider himself rich. And, you know, once you see the inside of the music business, you see it for what it is, which is just a career field with a lot of different layers, and a lot of diversity. You can make music. You can be a music teacher who plays at a piano bar on the weekend and make a good living. You can be a producer who lives in a foreign country where the cost of living is lower than it is in Western Europe or the United States, and sell beats online and be fine, and be considered upper middle class or upper class in your area. There are just a lot of different ways to make money. So yeah, I agree with what Kenny Beats is saying. I think the alarmism is just what made me pause a little bit, you know, with like, I don't know. I think there's a way to talk about what he's saying without saying, well, it's impossible to get rich, or it's impossible to make money without A, B, and C. It's different for everybody. And I understand, like in an interview or a Twitter conversation, you can't provide an exhaustive list of every way to make money in the music business and say everything you want to say. It's just when someone like him says something, people listen.
And I think too, like, it's very much an outlier driven industry. Like all three of us are doing impossible things. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't take that lightly. It's like, what the three of us are doing makes no sense. Like how we're able to like have consistent income. Me, it's like freshly consistent, but you know what I'm saying? Like we've all three always had to jump and figure out what the next step is to make sure that we stayed relevant, but also to make a check. And so I do think that a lot of artists and a lot of producers who listen to us would be happy, more than happy, with 50 to 60K from music income. And if I'm being honest, most of my like music friends, like artists who I'm actually friends with, like not people I've worked with before, they're probably right in that range. They're somewhere between like 60 and 100K, but most of them also work in entertainment somehow. So like I know another one that Dame just interviewed, he shoots video and is like an incredible director and videographer, and he does that for a lot of other artists. He shoots their music videos and stuff, but additionally he's shooting all his own and editing all his own content. So him bringing home 70K, he gets to hold on to a lot more because he doesn't have to pay for several other things. And then he's also working with other people, so then he'll get a verse for free because he gave them a discount on their content shoot. You know what I'm saying? But he's making it work. There's I have a friend who does like probably 50, 60K just in sync every year on Music Bed. But then he'll spend 10 or 12K per video because he's really into the cinematography of it and all these different things. But he has a corporate job that he's on call. He works in tech and he doesn't have to do much like day to day, but it's like he's decided that he's going to essentially reinvest 50 to 60K every year into his art because he just enjoys it. So I think that there are a lot of realities that people who may not live in creative communities are unaware of how people are getting by and the way that they're legitimizing their career. You know, a guy that I used to manage, he's a cruise singer now, and he still posts about his band, and he posts, people see him all overseas and they're like, dang, his band must be doing well. No, his band makes no money. The dude is a cruise singer, and that's no shot to him. It's just he wanted to stay in music. He still wants to be a part of the band. He's figured it out. So I think that if I do agree the alarmism is unhealthy, but I also think expressing to people that there are a billion ways to skin a cat. So this industry, even though it's very hard to get into and make money, there are so many possibilities if you can just imagine it and dream it up. Like I really and truly get paid to talk at this point in my life, and not because of this podcast specifically, but like consulting and all that, but it came from years and years and years of working.
Yeah.
So now when people call me into a room, I have the experience and the thought and the wherewithal to say, hey, this is what we should do in the direction we should go. But Dame, I have one question to ask you that came from this conversation. You said it's hard to make money in this industry because there's so many people trying to do it. So do you feel like on the artist and or executive side, do you feel like that's considered competition? Like, what in your head, is that competition or is that just noise, or what do you consider that? Because I feel like it's still not competition, because I could be better for a job, but if somebody knows somebody, they get the job, and vice versa. For me, I could just know somebody. They may not post about the job or post that they need a consultant, and then I get hired. So like, I don't know if I would necessarily consider it competitive like the tech world is. What would you consider this?
Yeah, I mean, just look at an extreme case, right? Like if there was only one person that supplied all the music, it would be easy. If there was 10 people, if there was 20 people, if it was 100 people, there's literally millions of people that are going after the same ears. Like, and not only going after the same ears, that creates like a weird environment where everybody feels like they have to move a little shady, they can't collaborate. Like it just creates a weird environment because everybody really claims that they really want this. So now, it's not a situation where if I win, you can't win. There's not that many people competing, but there is a lot of content out there. Even if you look at like YouTube from like the early 2010s to like now, and like how much more content is on YouTube, it's harder to maintain those eyeballs. It's harder to maintain that watch time because let's just say in 2010 there were 50,000 podcasts. Now in 2024 there's a billion podcasts, right? So, and the people that want to watch podcasts haven't kept pace with the people that want to have a podcast, right? So it is a very competitive space, but I also don't think it should make you paranoid and make you not want to work with people. It should make you want to work with people more, actually, because you guys can actually help each other. And if you're pursuing music the correct way, then you're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of folks. So that's what I meant, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just want to drive home a point he made: collaboration. I think that's like the only way you can cut through so much noise. Because if you keep popping up in a ton of spaces, I think even for me, that's what it wasn't like intentional. I wasn't like, I'm going to win because I collaborate. It's just the way that I grew up. I played sports. I'm a part of a big community. And I know undoubtedly I have survived in this industry because I collaborate so much. So I'm working with 10 different people at any given time, and then my name is coming up in 30 different conversations. And so even when a ton of shit falls through, there's more opportunities coming as I stay consistent. So yeah, collaboration, I will agree, is such a major part. And people talk about it, but people still really are like, I'm going to collaborate on this little thing over here because I don't want people to know I'm working on this, or I don't want them to have this contact. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, in order to make it in this industry, you need people. You need people, you need people to give you opportunities. So you need to pour into them. You need to be looking out for you need a network of solid folks, that can continue that you can give opportunities to, and that they can give opportunities to you. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the people that really want this, it doesn't matter what is being said on Twitter, they're going to figure out a way to get it. Like Aaron said, everyone's doing impossible things. If you see someone and they're making a living in the music business, especially self-employed, yeah, any perceptions that they had, any constraints, any limits that other people put onto them, all the impossibilities, they jumped over. They broke through all of those.
So I know we didn't even get to Aaron's topics. So I don't know if we want to punt it to next week or go through them quickly.
It's cool. I felt like we had a great natural discussion, but it's almost 11:30, so I'm cool.
Okay, well we'll punt it. We'll punt it to next week. So next week, Aaron is going to dive deeply into the Lotto beef, and that's your topic, right?
I don't even know what's happening with Lotto. I was gonna go bar for bar Kendrick and Drake next week.
Oh, even better. Okay, let's do that, and then we can tack on Lotto at the end just to add extra controversy. Appreciate you tuning in. Once again, if you really support the podcast and you support your own music career and you want to try out free music distribution for 3 months, tolost.com, use the code @odds, get that, upload your beats, upload your songs, albums, everything that you can possibly upload for free in 3 months to all the platforms. I think you should schedule your stuff out. Maybe get an AI manager. Put you on a calendar. I'm kidding. Hey, unless it works, you can do that yourself though. Either way, appreciate you tuning in, and we will be back next week at odds, possibly with a better slogan. We'll see. Peace.